Hello, welcome everyone. Thanks for being here this morning. We're live with Corinne Stevens from Ambassify.
Hi, thanks for having
Hi,
me, Pauline.
great to have you. Welcome to this live webinar. We are here today to talk about how you can amplify your webinar distribution and attract the right audience. Just before we get in, just a little bit of housekeeping. We're here for approximately 45 minutes this morning, and it is live recorded. We are also live streaming on YouTube right now,
Yes.
and I think LinkedIn, I haven't opened the channel, so I don't see it, but hopefully LinkedIn also. So we might have joiners also on that side. So as I was saying, it's live but recorded. Anyone on Livestorm, watching on Livestorm, not on YouTube, will get the recording at the end. We are also going to be taking questions towards the end, so make sure to stay to the end, but also post questions. Please use the questions tab. We will be able to find them. This is for Livestorm. Anyone on YouTube, go ahead in the chat and we'll have someone moderating and send us the questions also our way. And watch out for the polls. We actually do have one coming up right now to know where you heard about this webinar, because we're talking about webinar distribution. What channels worked? Crappy email.
Or didn't work. Yeah.
Or didn't
Very
work.
curious about that. Yeah.
All right, so we'll let you guys answer just how we're going to structure it. We're going to go through the different webinar promotion channels, how to optimize them. Corinne is going to touch a lot more on how you can leverage ambassadors and employee advocacy, and we'll continue with how you can continue leveraging your webinar once it's finished with post-webinar distribution. So a lot of email, but social media also got a little bit. Please, I'll let you introduce yourself, Kim.
Sure, thank you, Pauline. Guessing you are not going to do it in French, Français, but in English. I think most of our viewers will prefer that, so here we go. So yeah, I'm Koen, I'm CEO or word of mouth director, as we like to call it at Ambassify. And Ambassify basically is the most complete advocacy and engagement platform out there. We help our customers to save paid advertising budget, also recruitment costs, which might be a bit less relevant for this talk today. And we do this by using the best asset basically that you have in your company, being your employees. You bring them together in a closed community, and within that community we also use gamification elements, etc., to make sure that people are having fun while also really building business value for the company. We do this for a lot of big brands, mainly in Europe, and today I'm very happy to share how we specifically help these brands with promotional campaigns that they run. These could be recruitment campaigns, but also very specifically webinar-driven campaigns. So yeah, happy to educate everyone together with you, obviously, Pauline, on those topics.
Great.
What about you?
Happy to have you on board today. So I am Pauline. I'm French, but doing this webinar in English today. I've been with Livestorm for 3 years now on the marketing partnerships side. So anything related to lead generation with partners like yourself today. And of course, doing a lot of webinars and the whole webinar distribution part of it. So maybe let's jump right in. One thing before I go into the main promotion channels I want to touch on is we're going to go through the classic promotion channels. Anyone can use them, and you probably already do use them. But what I really want to push is, depending on the type of webinar you do and your goals. So maybe you're doing brand awareness, maybe you want to do lead generation, maybe you want to educate existing customers or expand existing customers and upsell them. Your goals are going to be different. You're going to look at different metrics, and your audience is going to be different. So you can actually adapt every promotion channel, or you're not going to use the same ones depending on those goals and what you actually want to achieve and who you want to talk to. And this is really the main point. In terms of channels that we're going to go through, it's really the classic email, social, website, employee advocacy. There should be a poll coming, so you can let us know which channels you actually use today, which ones you prioritize. Important thing is really to track with UTMs, so you actually know what is performing or what isn't. What on your side is your prioritized social distribution channel?
Yeah, obviously, I have to say employee advocacy, right? As it's the core
Obviously.
of the of the company. But we have to be honest, we also do email marketing and social media marketing, which is obviously very closely related with employee advocacy. A bit less on the website front, to be honest. And it's interesting.
Okay.
It's interesting to see, maybe as a rule of thumb, based on our own data, we typically see that about 20% of subscribers come in through employee advocacy, which is interesting because
nice numbers.
Yeah, it's free. And the cool thing is that those subscribers typically convert better at later stages. So the conversion to lead, conversion customer is higher than with the other leads. So that's an interesting takeaway, I think, from the data that we have based on our own communities. Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of people replied email and very little employee advocacy, which is interesting. So you're definitely going to be bringing value on that side. All right, well, let's kick it off with emails. You all probably already use it. Most of us use it. I know I use it massively for webinars. It's where I get, I want to say 85% of my signups. So I'm not going to go too much into detail, but just a couple of tips. Of course, you can use newsletters and include your webinar in it, which is good for a first touch, maybe quite a long time in advance to your webinar. But then if you really want an email that's going to perform, I think using a dedicated email will be key. And what's going to be important is, of course, the snappy copy, A/B testing, a good subject line, but really you want to segment your audience. And I think that's where you're really going to make a difference. And you can actually also tailor that copy to your audience. And again, this comes back to what you're trying to achieve. Are you targeting existing customers? Are you only targeting leads? Are you only targeting freemium users? Or maybe people who are interested in one topic or the other? So we typically go through our different personas. Are they people more interested in training use case or marketing webinars? And then have they downloaded content previously that is linked to this specific topic? And maybe it's the next step. And that's how I'm really going to be segmenting my audience to help it perform. And then I think when you want to talk about email signature banners, which again, it comes back to the employee advocacy.
Yeah, we're a big fan at Ambassify from that approach as well. So we actually built a system that makes it very easy to quickly switch between different campaigns that we run, and then the email signatures get automatically updated. So for example, if you have received an email from me in the last few weeks, the signature would obviously been the promotion of this webinar, and with one click, you end up at the right page. And we can do this for every department and change this around for every department very quickly. So marketing might focus on different campaigns that we're running. Sales might be focusing on different campaigns. The C-level might be focusing on different campaigns. So we actually built this small system to automate that process. And that works wonders. It works very well. And it also makes sure that you leverage it to the maximum. Because, I think that part really is like email real estate that's typically not being used a lot. Most of the time it's a classic signature with a picture and some contact information, but it's a great way to promote stuff like this webinar. So yeah, big fan of that indeed, Pauline.
Yeah, definitely works.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about email, and email, one thing is you're leveraging your existing database. So people who already know you. Now, if we move on to the other channels, it's a great way if you're going to do brand awareness or even lead generation, because you're going to be getting new leads. One of them is to leverage your website. You're going to be leveraging really the traffic that you have on your website and trying to engage with it and maybe convert it, at least the first touch conversion, so they interact with your content. So again, who do you want to talk to? What type of topics? So you're going to be selecting the right pages, the relevant pages to your topic, on where you actually want to promote your webinar. Now, this could be just using simple banners on your homepage or on specific pages with pop-ups. You can, of course, promote it on your blog, highlight it, but also maybe you have a blog article that is already relevant and you can add a CTA within it and say, well, go further, watch this live webinar happening next week or whatever. Leverage your chatbot if you have one and have a specific playbook for maybe 1 week or 2 weeks, promoting this specific webinar on specific pages. Again, I mean, maybe not on the homepage, that might be a little bit too aggressive or not relevant. Maybe not on a pricing page. You might want something that converts a bit further if they're on the pricing page, but perhaps on other content pages like your resources, like customer stories. You can do the same thing in app also, and that again, you're going to be segmenting towards who you want to reach. Is it only paying customers, maybe premium, because you're talking about a specific feature that they can access? Maybe it's only free users because you're trying to convert them and it's really, I don't know, entry touch level of your product features that you're going to be showcasing. So it's just this question of who you're trying to talk to and what value you're going to bring to them. Just one specific tip is switch out the message a little bit, especially if you're putting a website banner on the top of your homepage or even in the in-app messages. Just don't make it look like it's been there sitting for 3 weeks and it looks a little bit outdated. So either say, okay, I'm going to push it for 1 week and stop it, or then just switch around maybe every week or so it goes around a little bit and is refreshed and performs a bit more. Moving on is the social media aspect. Again, a good way to engage with your community of followers, but also to do a bit more brand awareness, because with hashtags, the fact that it's shareable, you can reach a wider audience. So of course, there's the classic post about your event on the different channels, get your employees to post about this event, make it shareable very easily, have ready-made posts, different sets. Perhaps you can even use, in some cases, we've done like short video teasers of our speakers preparing, talking about what's coming up for the webinar, and post those on the different social media channels. They get great engagement. So that's the very classic first touch for social media. The next point is LinkedIn events. So I'm not talking about the live restream that we're doing right now, but really LinkedIn events that you can create on the platform. I think they're a great way to showcase that, okay, there's an event, there's a date, it's very clear, people can sign up, and the sign up process is seamless. I mean, you just click participate and you're in the event, versus, you know, the full registration form, which I'm sure we lose a lot of people on that side. Yeah. But to make sure that people actually attend your event, you can connect with a Zap or make automation, whichever you use. So you create your event, you put in your Livestorm link or whichever platform you're using, and you use the LinkedIn ads registration form, so the classic LinkedIn form, and then just create a Zapier or a Make automation to actually connect the people from the LinkedIn event to your Livestorm event. So that means they will be signed up in your Livestorm event and receive all your reminder emails. The first ones I did not do that, and so I had to personally message every single person in that LinkedIn event to get them to actually sign up and get the link and make sure they would attend, which is a hassle, and you lose 70% of the people who signed up on the LinkedIn event. With the automation, you're sure they're going to get the reminders, they're going to get the replay, so they're going to be a lot more engaged, or at least you're improving the stats that they were actually attend and get the information. The third point, and this is if you're not doing lead gen, but you really want to do brand awareness, you don't care about gating your content, is go on for restream, especially if you have a big community of followers on, maybe it's Twitter, YouTube or LinkedIn. You can simultaneously restream live your events. Now, you will not get, I don't think you get the full data of who's attended, their email and all that. So it's great if you want to do awareness, you want to reach a wider audience that has or has not interacted with you before. You're increasing really that visibility, and it gets you a bit more interaction with the communities on those different platforms. Anything you wanted to add on social?
Yeah, maybe it's also one of the questions I see from Domenico, if I'm not mistaken. I see my colleague answered already, but maybe interesting to explain it a bit more, because it's indeed a very interesting question. With employee advocacy colleagues copy pasting all the same content, the LinkedIn algorithm doesn't like that. When you promote that and it's all the same, LinkedIn will say like, we're going to give a bit less eyeballs to that specific piece of content, which is obviously what you would like to avoid. So how do we fix that at Ambassify? Is by giving the option to community managers who are setting up the campaigns to basically add variants, not only of the copy, but also of the images. So when people then start sharing different things on LinkedIn, it will be different already. And if you combine that with our scheduling features, then you will get different variants of copy and images at different point in times over a few days, for example. And that helps a lot. The LinkedIn algorithm will see it more as fresh content and will boost it much more than if you would just have all generic content out there. So hope that answers your question, Domenico. Otherwise, feel free to ask some more detailed questions as well a bit later. Maybe also the question of Stephanie to you, Pauline, that we can answer on the spot.
Sure. So more technical question: how do you sync Livestorm to Restream, and how do I convince my boss that brand awareness is also as important as potential leads and emails? Yeah, that's yeah, that is a hard one. That leads is not the only answer. I think. So first, to go back on the Restream, how do you connect it? So with Livestorm, Restream is an add-on, so it's a paying extra feature. To activate it, you can go up to 5 different simultaneous platforms. And how do you connect it is you have to have, if you're going to do it on LinkedIn, you have to have like a company page, and you create a live LinkedIn event. So either you create your classic LinkedIn event, but you put live with a third party, I think, and then you'll be able to access the Restream key, and you plug that into your Livestorm dashboard. Similar thing with YouTube. You go to YouTube Studio, create a live stream, and they'll give you a Restream key, and you copy paste that into your settings in the dashboard. How to convince that brand awareness is also as important. This is a hard one, but I think there is this trend where more and more companies are going towards ungated. There's a bit of a piece where people are less willing to give their data to actually access content. There's a bit more of this will of community getting value and not being chased constantly by email. I know PlayPlay has recently done a couple of studies and is going towards that way of ungating content. And I heard them talk on, it was a French podcast, but they probably do it on the English side also. They've ungated a big chunky piece of content, and they saw their traffic really explode. They saw that they were getting a lot more shares than they would where you're gating the content. You're losing people to come in that come and actually give you the information. When you're ungating, you're going to look at different data. You're going to look at the traffic and then how you're actually able to engage that traffic, which might be a little bit more difficult. I guess it can be tested. Maybe try with ungated and gated and try to A/B test. If you have a wide enough audience, that could be an interesting one.
Yeah, indeed. Maybe also interesting to quickly mention that with Zapier or Zapier, nobody knows how to pronounce it exactly, but most of us know it. It typically is the glue between different, typically B2B software providers, but also with Livestorm and Ambassify, you can use Zapier to connect these two and automatically, for example, create promotion campaigns to amplify via your employees. So that's also interesting to note, I think, within this broader context. Yeah.
Yeah. And so moving on to employee advocacy.
Wow. Thanks, Pauline. Let me start with a small disclaimer. You might have heard it already, or maybe not. It depends on how strong my microphone is in picking up signals. But as it's used to be the case, they started to work in our office building here 1 hour ago. So if you hear a lot of background noise, then you know where it's coming from. It's just to show that we're live, you know. Basically, it's just that. And Pauline actually gave me a good tip shortly before the webinar of a tool that's called crisp.ai. Maybe someone can paste it in the chat as well. And that basically helps with reducing the noise. So it's definitely a tip, Pauline. I will try next time. I didn't have time to set it up this time, but yeah, very interesting to play around with that one. Okay, employee advocacy. How can we leverage the power of employees for webinar promotion? We all know it's becoming harder and harder to promote webinars. We have to be honest about that as well. You know, more and more companies are doing webinars, so we are all trying to get the same attention. The quest for attention is real. It's even becoming a real battle sometimes to get people into the webinar. So very happy with the amount of subscribers we received for this one, with our combined efforts together with Livestorm. And also very important when you work through paid advertising to get people to join webinars. Yeah, it comes at a cost, obviously. So I don't think that you need to exclude it from your promotion strategy. But if you can cover quite a bit of those costs by using your own employees who are typically more trustworthy, have an interesting network, etc., with other people in that network that might subscribe, that can be very relevant as well. And that's where we come in with the employee advocacy angle, basically. As you can read on the slides, not going to go into too much detail. When we go one step back and look at the numbers, quite interesting, but on average, the overall network of a company's employees is at least 10x larger than a company's follower base. I think it's quite easy to test that yourself. Just go to your LinkedIn profile, look at the amount of followers that you have on your company page, and then make a calculation of the sum of your employees and their extensive networks. It's typically much, much larger. So that's why you should be really leveraging those employees. And some feedback, and I'm sure you recognize this, Pauline, I get a lot of time. This is like, yeah, okay, we can do it like that, but now I see all that content popping up in my LinkedIn feed, and it feels a bit spammy, etc.
Yes, we hear that.
Yeah, but we completely overestimate that we are in the same company typically, you know. So obviously you see all the posts from your colleagues appearing.
Absolutely.
But with your prospect, etc., it's completely different. So they might see 2 or something like that. So it's not something that you should worry about. So the power of those employees networks actually is extremely strong. Going to the second point, nearly 64% of advocates in a formal program credited employee advocacy with attracting and developing new business. It's a bit in the line with what I said before. We typically see that because of the trustworthiness of those employees, that they also convert better in later stages of the funnel. So that's very interesting to note. And also companies can get up to more than 5x greater reach when messages are shared by employees. Now, reach is always a bit of a vanity metric, I think, personally. But you need reach. It starts with reach, and then you should look at the conversions, the clicks, obviously, the subscribers, and then what converts into leads and new business. So interesting numbers that are interesting to take along the journey of the rest of the presentation. Because yeah, it's just very interesting. It's not just about expanding the reach on social media as we speak about on this slide, but as I just said, also reaching the right audience to do that, because all like employees have a much bigger and more relevant network typically than companies. For example, on company pages, you also have a lot of people that would like to work for the company, etc., but might not necessarily be in a company that's in your ICP, that's in your target audience. So it's also very important to really build that credibility and build that brand trust and the power of personal recommendation, as we would like to call it, and really attracting the right people, as I said before, because the employees typically have the right people in their network. So try to leverage that with the variants that I spoke about before, with the scheduling features that I spoke about before, to make sure that the LinkedIn algorithm doesn't punish you, and that it really enables you to create as much buzz around the webinars as possible. So on the next slides, I will talk a bit more on how you can achieve this. So there are two key campaigns types that we have within the platform that work very well, and I will explain them in more detail. The first one is the affiliate type of campaigns, and the second one is the referral type of campaigns. So with the affiliate links, it's very easy. So basically, the community manager of the platform will set up a campaign to promote the webinar, might set up the variants, etc., as we discussed a few times now already. And then people can just share that post, the employees can share that post on the different social media channels that we support. This is just a small subset. We also support Xing in Germany, for example, or WeChat in Asia, but those are the key channels. X, we have to say X and try to remember it, right, Pauline? And LinkedIn, Facebook, obviously, they're typically key for webinar promotion, especially LinkedIn in our case these days. So what happens is people just click on the LinkedIn button and it's automatically being shared on LinkedIn. More importantly, it's also through conversion pixels, etc. We can completely track it and see who brought in new subscribers into the webinar. So that makes it very easy to do this. You can do this with webinars, but as I said before, you can also do it with vacancies, for example. We all pay too much money to get the right people in the company by working with recruitment agencies. Nothing against them. We have great customers, by the way, that are in that space. But yeah, it's expensive, you know. It might cost you 10, 15, 20K to get people on board. So that's why you can also use your employees, again, when you have vacancies, to spread those vacancies. And we noticed it ourselves, you know, some of the people that are today in our company actually came in through the employees. And in the old days, you would have, and most companies still are doing it that way, you would have this, hey, you can get an iPad, maybe we should say like an Oculus VR glasses or something like that these days, but you could get like an iPad when you would bring in an employee. But there is a very high chance that there are some errors in the process because it's all very manual, like we did it in the old days, you know. So today we're living in a digital environment, obviously, so we can really track everything in the best possible way. And then it becomes very interesting because then you can see, for example, like, hey, Pauline shared this vacancy or webinar promotion 1 week ago on LinkedIn. Through Pauline, 6 people subscribed to the webinar, and also 3 people appeared in the webinar. And you could do exactly the same with the recruitment angle. Like Camilla, for example, spread this vacancy on LinkedIn 1 month ago. Through that link, because we can track it, 6 job applicants came in, and we hired Sarah 2 months later. We can even automatically reward Camilla for doing that post. So we can basically completely replace that with a free iPad program by doing it this way, in a much easier way and much better trackable way. So that's how it works. A quick summary here. So you share the affiliate link in the front end. You don't have to have any technical knowledge whatsoever. If you're an employee or an ambassador, it's being shared on LinkedIn. As you can see on the screenshot, people can engage with it, and then you can move forward with that. And it's exactly the same for recruitment purposes as well. Exact same flow. When you see the back office of the platform, you will not only see the affiliate link sharing. For example, John shared this on X, Peter shared this on LinkedIn, and Deborah shared this on Instagram, for example. But you can also see when people really applied for something, then you can also see the people and also who caused the conversion. And again, then you can put the gamification to work and make sure that they get a nice bunch of points, for example, that they can claim not only for monetary rewards, because what we see these days is that more and more people are a bit less focused on the monetary rewards, but are much more open for other kinds of rewards. Think about sustainable rewards. That's a very hot topic in every company these days. So, okay, when you bring in a job applicant or 10 webinar subscribers, we will plant 100 trees or whatever. So you can completely automate that in the program as well. Or, for example, a LinkedIn recommendation. A lot of people are a bit scared to ask their manager, like, hey, it would be cool to have a LinkedIn recommendation on my profile. Because the manager might think like, why do you want this now? Are you leaving the company? It's always a bit sensitive. But then when it's part of a broader gamification strategy, it makes a lot of sense, and then it's just clicking on a button and then the manager can write that recommendation, etc. So you have a lot of options there. It's not always monetary. That's something that used to be the case, I think. But yeah, the world is shifting as always. And what we see more and more is that the other types of rewards are becoming more and more popular as well. And all the data, statistics, whatever you want, are obviously fully available in engagement analytic reports, etc. So as a quick summary, how does it work exactly when we speak about webinars? So a community manager will set up a campaign with the variants, with the scheduling functionalities, etc. This can be shared on all kinds of different social media channels. People, the connections of those persons basically click on that on LinkedIn, for example, get to the landing page of the webinar subscription page where they can register or apply when we talk about, for example, the recruitment angle. Everything is being tracked. The registrations are being tracked, are being linked to the right person. And when they convert into a webinar subscriber or even a new lead later on, also the initial person that shared it will get rewarded. So that way you get more registrations for your webinar. So it's very simple, but because it's trackable, you can do a lot with it. And that's very, very powerful, one. And two, also very motivating to the employees, because you can help the company by sharing content. You can help the company by sharing vacancies. You can help the company by sharing jobs. But if you don't see the feedback loop, so what's in it for me when you're an employee, then typically they will focus a bit less on these things in the future. And that's what's perfectly possible today already with employee advocacy platforms. Referral campaigns, that's the final thing I want to touch upon. That's just a different approach. The main difference is that with affiliate links, you need conversion tracking and pixels, obviously, to make sure that it works. With referral campaigns, it's not the case. You will basically just ask your advocate or ambassador, like, okay, who else would be interested in this webinar, for example. And they can just fill in the data, first name, last name, email. That person will get an email and can easily subscribe. And we can also see that subscription came in through the initial person that shared it through the referral campaign. So how are these typically being used? Obviously for webinars, as you can see in the last point in this bullet list, but also to build your customer base, for example. Why not use a referral campaign to ask your best customers to refer other potential customers in their personal network? So that's a very interesting one that can also work wonders, because again, sometimes it's a bit, not everyone likes to ask it in person. Do you know another company, etc.? So it's an easy way to do that as well through such a program. The same with the employee referral programs. Hey, employee brings in another employee. I talked about that before. It's all the same mechanics. It's just another approach, some other copy, etc. And you can do exactly the same. And also growing the community, for example, with like-minded people. So Ambassify is a community-driven platform, and it's very easy within that platform to, for example, have an active ambassador invite another ambassador into the program. So you also get a bit of a viral effect. And obviously, the webinars, which are the key focus area of this presentation today. So a lot of use cases with very simple mechanics, but with very strong results. As a quick summary. As a final point from my side, what I really like as well is the crowdsourcing part. So this is for live events, but could also be for webinars. Let me just give the live event example. When you have the community of happy employees, why not ask them, for example, when you organize a live event, or even your customers, that could also be a group within the broader platform, like, hey, we're thinking about inviting these speakers into our next event. We talked with them and they are available on that day, speaker X, Y, and Z. And the employees themselves can basically pick the speaker, or the prospects can basically pick the speaker. When they have picked the speaker, you could ask like, hey, this speaker typically does a presentation around X, Y, and Z. What do you want to see when that speaker will join the live event? Again, people make their choice, and you build up the event based on the input that you get. So you're really crowdsourcing your next event, live event, or your next webinar. You can even
That's interesting.
Yeah.
To be able to personalize the presentation based on the actual needs of your audience. And it's not going, how we've presented is, okay, you've told of who you think would be the target audience and what they think that. Now it's like your audience is telling you, this is what I need and this is what I want.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
a nice reverse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you can even go one step further, Pauline, like, for example, you could say like, okay, catering wise, we're thinking about these 3 food trucks, which one would you prefer, etc. What we have learned is when you do that, and I'm sure you can relate to that as well, the more people are part of that process, the higher the attendance rate will be, because
and the engagement.
Exactly. Yeah, they really got more committed.
The engagement is going to be higher.
Exactly.
Yeah, what we've done in the past, very, very briefly, I don't think we've done it very often, but is you can actually, it doesn't go as far, but within your registration page, if you use your classic Livestorm registration form, you can add forms, and you could potentially add like an open text form saying, well, we've done it more of, are there any questions in advance, or sending a reminder email with a type form saying, let us know the questions in advance, or what you're most excited about beforehand, so we can adjust the presentation based on this this feedback. But we never went as far as, you can choose the speaker among 5. Quite bold.
Let's try to work it out in the future, I would say, Pauline. No, very strong insight. So that's basically it for this part of the presentation. Handing the virtual microphone again to you, Pauline. Here you go.
Thanks for all those insights. So we've talked indeed about the whole distribution piece pre-webinar, what happens before your webinar. But as we were saying right at the beginning, distribution does not stop there. You can actually have your webinar live a bit longer, make it sort of evergreen, and continue generating both brand awareness and leads. We know that's a tricky topic for a lot of marketers. So how do you continue? You just recycle your content. One of the easiest way, obviously, is to have it on demand. Get the replay sent to all the signups and live attendees. This is what's going to happen today, I think 2 to 5 minutes after the webinar. A good way to put it on demand also at Livestorm, and that's actually a communication point that I did not mention during the website section, is, okay, a lot of us companies have a resource section on our website. It's great to put it on demand there. But with Livestorm, we also get a company page. So for smaller companies who maybe don't have a website as developed yet, you can have this automatic company page that you can link to, and all your webinars, upcoming and on demand, will be there. It's actually great for SEO if you want to put them public and agree to anyone signing up to go and watch them. They pop up a bit more. Then repurpose into blogs, ebooks, use the transcript to do it. Post shorts, cut it up into small sections. There's tools like Chopcast, actually doing a webinar soon with them on this specific topic of repurposing. PlayPlay also does something similar. You're able to cut your video up into different formats for your different socials, so you can continue promoting maybe the key highlights on a social media post and put the link to the on demand. Post it on YouTube if you want to gain that on that brand awareness visibility after. Maybe use the sound for a podcast. Make the content available for your client-facing teams. Have this sort of internal library they can go dig in, depending on when they're looking for a specific topic, and then you can just share a blog article or the specific webinar that probably has value for those prospects and existing customers. Also, posting short videos on your website and blog pages of the video is going to help your SEO today. It just helps rank that page and make it a bit richer. So there's plenty of ways. Just one big tip, if you're going to repurpose, is think it out before you do your webinar. It's going to help you just structure the content correctly, so you know in advance, I want to make a podcast, I want to make an ebook, or I want to make just shorts with section A, B, or C. It just helps the work later on. And finally, before we finish, just to give you an overview of the timeline for webinar planning, advice is really start as early as possible. It's just going to let you readjust and react depending on what's performing, not what's not performing. So at least a month in advance, make sure you have your topic, your speakers, the format selected, and your landing page goes out within that week. That also gives you time to prepare all your assets for all the different distribution channels, and then start slow, but start testing a good 3 weeks in advance, so that you see, one, what's working, and two, if you need to do those extra pushes a couple of days before, just to get those numbers up. Anything you wanted to add?
No, yeah, I think this fits in quite nicely with the crowdsourcing part as well, right? And maybe we should start just a little bit earlier then.
Earlier if you're crowdsourcing, definitely for the content.
But yeah, it definitely makes sense. And I think it's essential to have a good structure and also a repeatable structure for setting up
Absolutely. Get sort of that playbook.
Yeah.
You can actually download the deck if you go into apps below your chat bar and questions and handouts. So click on apps and handouts and you'll be able to download the full deck. And we'll move on to questions. I think there's one for you, Kun, from Jules. How do employees connect Ambassify with their social accounts for automatic posting?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. I think we covered quite a few questions already during the session, which is always nice. So thank you for being so proactive, our dearest audience. Yeah, it's extremely simple. It's basically just how you would connect with Facebook itself or with X, etc. So when you are in the platform, you have a button. You just have to connect with LinkedIn, for example, once and give permission. And then when you would share a message on your LinkedIn page, personal LinkedIn page, which could also be your company LinkedIn page if you have permissions for that. It's just one click and it's being shared. You can pick the variant that fits your fits you best, and that's basically it. So it's extremely simple. What we do not do is automatic posting. So we do everything up until the moment that the employee has to click on share, because we think it has to be a manual process. We don't want our employees to be spam bots in a way. For specific use cases, it does make more sense. Think, for example, about C-level who are extremely busy and they don't have time, and they might have someone who moderates that content and to see that it fits with the profile of C-level employees within the company. But in general, we advise against that and try to make it just not fully automatic, but just at the final part, one final step. But the connecting, Jules, is extremely easy. It's a few clicks for the different social media networks, and then you can just work with them moving forward. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay, great. Well, I think we've gone through all the questions. We have a couple of minutes left if you have any last ones. I've checked on the restreaming platforms. I think we're good also. Just maybe one last tip of advice, if you're going to do that restreaming part, is to make sure internally you have that extra help and resources of having a moderator keep an eye, one helping you on the Livestorm part, just to, if you have a lot of questions, and also on the different restream platforms, maybe just muting those channels, but checking if there's anything. I think we had a couple of links to share with you guys if you want to go further. There you go. With promotion tactics, there's one ebook, I think, on your side. For Ambassify, you had also something that you wanted to share, maybe in the chat or blog article or something.
Yeah, we'll share it in a few seconds. And maybe also interesting to wrap it up and looking at the polls and the results of the polls. I think it's quite interesting. Email still seems to be key, which is great for you, Pauline.
It's working, but I'd love to develop the other channels a bit more and less rely on email. That's the goal for the year.
Normal email still is king today. And also that's the opportunity for us. A lot of the viewers don't have an employee advocacy program in place yet. So that's also interesting to see, and also prioritize it less, obviously, because they don't have a program. So yeah, I think that's a nice opportunity for us and for you guys. Yeah, just keep on rocking, Pauline, and keep on doing what you're doing, because it seems to be working well. So yeah, interesting insights in the poll section as well.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining, and you will be getting the replay very shortly.
Yes, same from me. Thanks for the interesting chat, Pauline, as well, and the stuff I learned today. And I hope the audience learned a few things left and right as well. And have a great remainder of the day, everyone, and see you next time.
Likewise.
Cheers. Bye-bye.